Hey, what's up? Welcome to this video. This one is paper 2 of November 2005 for paper 2A. So this one is going to be a long paper, so I hope you guys can follow through this with kind of tough questions as well. So let's see. Here we have question number 1. So the diagram shows two circles. As we can see, this is number 1, number 2, with center O and P respectively. Now, A, B, C, A, D are tangents to the circle at B, C, D. So these line, they are tangents to the circles right here. Now, of course, they tell us this information for a reason. So we have to use that to find the answers eventually, right? Now we have AOP is a straight line. So AOP is a straight line. Okay, moving on to question part 1. Give a reason for your answer. Write down the angle AOB. So first thing first, where is the angle AOB? ABO, sorry. ABO, it is going to be 90. Why? Because we know by theorem that the tangent is perpendicular to the radius. That's why it is going to be 90. As you can see, tangent ABC touches the circle at B, and BO is the radius, and we know that the tangent is perpendicular to the radius, and that is why it will have to be 90. That is part B, and this is the reason why for the theory that we use behind this reasoning. Now for part B, it is given that OB is 6. Okay, so this is 6, and we have AO is 13, so this is 13, and PC is 15. Now again, if PC is 15, we understand that P is also 15. So because PC is the radius, P is also the radius. And also OD is also 6 because it is the radius as well. Now moving on, we have to show that the angle OAB is this value. Now what is the angle OAB? So let's see. OAB will be this angle. So we have to find this angle. Now again, we have to do some observation to see what can we use to find this value. Now by observation, if you take out the triangle A, B, and O, that will be A, B, and O. Now we have a right angle triangle where this is the 6, this is 13, and we're trying to find this angle. So pretty easy, we have to use SOHCAHTOA, right? So this is the hypotenuse. Because it is opposite the right angle, it is called the hypotenuse. And this one is upwards of the right angle, it is the opposite side. So in this case, we have to use sine. Sine of the angle, let's call this A, has to be the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So A has to be sine inverse of this value. That will be 6 over 13. That will give you 27.5, correct to 1 decimal place. So this is shown as required. Part 2, shown as required. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So this is part 1, 2. We have to find the length of AC. Now where's AC? So let's check. AC will be this whole thing. Okay, now again, let's do some observation. We can see that tangents ABC touches this big circle at the point C. Right. Now CP is also the radius, so hence we understand that this is also 90. Now same logic applies. If you take out the shape, which is APC, what do you have? You will have a right angle triangle again. That will be A, C, and P. This is 15. And we have this angle here, which is 27.5, as we have seen from part 1. And we are trying to find the length of AC, which is this. So how can you find this? Again, using SOHCAHTOA. We have this side, this is the opposite side. This is the A side, so we have to use tan. So tan of the angle has to be the opposite side over the A side. So AC has to be 15 divided by tan of 27.5. That will be 28.8 correct to 3SF. So let's write this down here. So AC will be 28.8 centimeters correct to 3SF. Now let's move on to the other parts. What do we have now? We have to find the length of C. So C will be this one. So again, this, we can have many ways of finding this value. One of the way we can look at this is, we can think, okay, let me actually take this triangle out. So we have, if this is 27.5, the whole thing here will be what? It will be twice, because we understand that this and this are the same. So 27.5 times 2, that will be 55. If this whole thing is 55, if this is 90, this is 90, this will be what? So this is, so we can have a look at this whole thing, which is ACPE is a shape with 4 sides, so the sum of the interior angles have to be 360. If that makes sense, right? Now because of that, we can derive this value. Because everything is 360 minus 55 minus 90 and minus 90 as well, you will have 125 for this angle. Now, if you were to take out this shape right here, this triangle, let's see, we have this line, then we have this, and then we have this. This is a P right here, this is 125, this is 15, 15, and we have to find EC, let's call this Y for now, we have to find the length of Y. Now, given these conditions satisfy the requirements to use the cosine rule, which means that whenever we know the 2 sides and the angle in between, we can use cosine rule. So let me continue this over here, why not? That will be cosine of the angle have to give you 15 square plus 15 square, these 2 sides, minus the opposite side square, divided by 2 times 15 times 15. So this is the formula we have to know for using the cosine rule. Now simplify. Cos of 125 times, so basically we are trying to cross multiply here. Let me write this down again. So here we have cos of 125, and this is 15 square plus 15 square, that will be 450 minus y square over the value of 450, because 2 times 15 times 15 is the same thing, right? So now we have to cross multiply. You will have 450 cos of 125 is equal to 450 minus y square. So finally y square has to be this minus this, right? So 450 minus 450 cos of 125, that will be 708 blah blah blah. Now y, root of answer, that will be 26.6, correct to 3SF. So finally the length of y, which is the length of EC, was found to be 26.6, correct to 3SF for non-exact values. That will be your question number 1. So the main point here is that we have to understand this one, tangent to a circle. What does it mean? What can we use that for? And also we just had to understand when to use the cosine rule, or how can we use right angle triangles to find this. So basically, whenever you have right angle triangles, we can use the Pythagoras theorem. I mean, not all the time, but those are 2 things applicable to those questions. And we can use SOHCAHTOA to find the answers. So whenever we have angles, we used to use this. If we don't have angles, we can use this. So one of those 2 applies to right angle triangles, can help us to find the sides of the triangle or the angle for using this one. That'll be question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. So what do we have here? So here we have to solve the equation. Solving means to find the value of t, of the unknown. Here we have t. First step is to cross multiply. You will have what? 3t plus 1 has to be 8. So 3t has to be 7. T has to be 7 over 3. This is your answer for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to solve the simultaneous equation. So basically find the values of x and y as follows. So first step here, what I can do is I can first make y become subject. That will become y 12 minus 2x. My equation number 1. Now for this one, replace the y here. You will have 3. Y is 12 minus 2x. Minus 2x equal to 5, 6. Simplify, that will be 3, 6. Minus 6x minus 2x. That will be this. Simplify, minus 8x. That will be what? So 5, 6 minus 3, 6. That will be 20. So x have to be 20 divided by minus 8. That will be minus 2.5. So finally, y has to be, replacing this one back here, you will have 12 minus 2 answer. That will be 17. Okay, so this and this will be the answers for this simultaneous equation where you have to find the values of x and y. Now for part C, we have to simplify this fraction. So let's see how can you do that. So of course, we have to look at this one by one. The top value we can simplify first by factorization. Because we have y squared, we can have 2 brackets. What is 3y squared is 3y times y, right? What is 4? 4 can be what? 4 can be 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. So we can use either this pair or this pair in those places to factorize that. Now we need the value of plus 8, so we can use 2 and 2 here. To get plus 8, we have to have plus 6 and plus 2. If that makes sense, for factorization. Now for the base one, pretty easy. What is 4? 4 is 2 squared. And that is y squared, which is the difference of squares. We can easily factorize that. That will become y minus 2 and y plus 2. Aha, so now what can we see? We see these will be cancelled out. So you will have 3y plus 2 over the value of y minus 2. Okay, that will be part C of the question. Now for part D of the question, we have to express x in terms of this. So we have to make x become the subject of formula. So pretty easy. So first, let's regroup all the x to one side. So here we have 2x. We send this over here, become plus gx. Here we have 2f. Send this over here, become minus 3h. Now simplify. Factorize the x outside. You will have 2 plus g equal to 2f minus 3h. So finally, x have to be 2f minus 3h divided by 2 plus g, which is x in terms of f, g, and h. That is your question part D of question number 2. Okay, so now we can safely move on to the next one, which is question number 3. This one is the properties of circles. Let's see what can we do in this one. So here we have points A, B, C, and D, E lie on the circle. So we have to use this somewhere. This is why they give us this information. Okay. Now we have AD is the diameter of the circle. So AD right here is the diameter of the circle. And here we have DB bisects angle ADC. Now what does it mean to bisects? Bisects means you cut the angle exactly in half. So if this whole thing is 5, 6, half will be what? Will be 56 divided by 2, that will be 28. So that will be 28 and that will be 28. So that's something we can derive from that line. Now let's move on to the questions. First one is we have to, giving your reasons, write down the angle DCA. So where's DCA? D is here, C is here. So we have to find this angle. Now, obviously, from what I can see, the angle has to be 90. Why is that? Because if you observe, if you turn this way, you can see that DA is the diameter. Now, the angle in a semicircle has to be 90. So what do I mean? So whenever you have, let's say we have a circle here. Let's say we have a diameter here. Whenever you have basically these two lines joined at any point on the circle, this has to be 90. You can join here, you can join, let's say here as well. It will have to be 90. So that's the main idea. Whenever you have angle in a semicircle where the two lines join over the diameter, it will become 90 degrees. So let's write this down. First value here is 90 because it is angle in a semicircle. That's the reason why. As you can see here, they meet right here. This has to be 90 because of that theorem. Now for part 2, we have to find the angle DAC. Now where's DAC? DAC has to be this one. So pretty easy. If you look at DCA is a triangle, but it is also a right angle triangle. We know this. We can safely find this by taking 180, because the sum of the angle in a triangle is 180, minus 56 minus 90, that should be 34. So let's write this down. This has to be 34 degrees because it is the third angle of triangle DAC. That's the reason why. Now for part 3, we have to find the angle CBA. C is here, B is here, A is here. CBA. So this whole thing, okay? So this is also pretty easy. This is where we have to use this information. The points A, B, C, D lie on the circle. So this concept is pretty easy. If you just cover this side, what do we have? We have a shape. We have the shape D, A, B, C, D. Right. And since those points lie on the circle, we can conclude that, and of course it has 4 sides. That's also a condition. Since it is a cyclic quadrilateral, we can say the opposite side have to be supplementary, which means they have to add up to 180. So angle D plus angle B has to be 180. So angle B has to be 180 minus D, which is 5/6. That will be 124. Okay, so let's write this down. We can write 124 here. And the reason we can just write D and B are supplementary angles. That is one way to write this. Right? If you want to, you can also write, because the shape A, B, C, D, this one, is what is a cyclic quadrilateral. That's the other reason we can write for that answer. Now for part 4, we have find the angle AEB. So where's that value? AEB. So we have to find this. This is pretty easy as well. If you observe, the angle E here, it reflects on the chord AB, but also we realize that the angle here also reflects on the chord AB. If you observe in this way, for example, you can see that angle E, it extends to the chord AB, but angle here also extends to the chord AB. So we can say, because of that, they will have the same value. That will be 28, because we can say the angle E and angle D have the same chord or arc. You can write chord or arc for the answer. Because of that, they will have to be the same value, this and this. Okay, that will be part A of the question with all the reasonings. Now again, it is always good to know those. I think in most questions nowadays, you don't need to provide the reasonings, but however, it is good for yourself. So whenever a question pops up, you know what to think about, at least to solve the question step by step. Now let's move on to part B of the question. It is given that EB is the same direction as DC. So this, let me use a red here. EB is the same direction as DC. Okay, if you observe, we have something like this right now. Now what is the question? So we have EB cuts AD at X, so we can clearly see that. So EB cuts AD at X, so at this point. Okay, good to know. The next one is you must not assume X is the center, so we assume it is not the center. we have to show that B dx is isosceles. Now again, what does it mean to be an isosceles triangle? So we have to understand that if you have an isosceles triangle, it just means that these two sides will be the same, which means these two angles have to be the same. So by proving this and this are equal, we can show it is an isosceles triangle. So first, where is the triangle B dx? So B dx will be the triangle here. Clearly, we have to show that this and this are the same. Let's see how can we show that. So we have the angle here 28, and we are given that EB and DC are in the same direction. So we have to use that in a way that we can show this, right? So by observation now we can see that we have an alternate angles. So what do I mean? So for example, we can see here DC is in this direction and EB will be in this direction according to the diagram. This is B, this is the point D. This is in the same direction. Now, we can see that D and B are joined by a straight line. So they are joined by a straight line, right? And because we know something, we know that the alternate angles here have to be the same. Because of that, if this is, as you can see here, if this is what? This is the value of 28, this will also have to be the value of 28. So because of that, this is 28. As you can see now, the triangle DBX, we have these two angles are the same. Because of that, these two sides have to be the same, and hence it is an isosceles triangle by definition. So we can say we have found the angle as, let me write this down, the angle DBX was found to be 28 by alternate angles. You can write the reasons if you want to. And then hence, this concludes that the side XD is equal to XB. Hence, B dx is isosceles. That's the reason why for part B to be true. Now moving on to part C, we have to find the angle EBA. So where's EBA? So E is here, B is here, A is here. So we have to find this angle. So how can you find this angle? So let's see, one by one. This is 28, this is 28, so what will be this one? So looking at the triangle, this has to be the third angle of a triangle. That will be 180 minus 28 minus 28. That will be 124. Now next step, because this is 124, we understand what? This is a straight line, right? This is the diameter. Now we understand this has to be 180, so this has to be what? So 124, not 35. I apologize. So this has to be 56. Okay, that's the other thing we can derive from that. Now, what else we can see? Let's check. What else do we know? Same thing, because here we have, again, it is vertically opposite to each other. This also has to be the value of 124. If that makes sense, right? Because otherwise, we can also see this. We can also see this is a straight line. We have 56 here. This has to be the other side, which is 180 minus 56. That will be 124 as well. Now, conclusion, what is this one? This has to be the value of 28, okay? And we have to find this one for your answer. So let me see what I'm missing here to find this one. So let me see. So we have this and that. What else do I need to know? Let me check. So I think there's something that I'm missing here, because I know this angle. I don't know this one yet. I don't know. Oh, okay, I know this one. I know the big one, which is the big one is given to you from 124. This is 28. And we know that this and this are the same, which means this and this are also the same. Why? because if this is 28, this also has to be 28. Okay, so now by looking at this, we understand that these two are the same, right, according to what we have derived. So we have derived that XBA, the triangle, is an isosceles triangle. Now, because this is 56, we understand that the remaining two angles here have to be the same. So that will be 180 minus 56 divided by 2. That should be 62. So this is 62 and 62. Because of that, we realize that angle EBA has to be 62. Okay, I know this is a lot of work, but it is something good to know for now. I don't think in exams you will have similar questions anymore, but as you can see, any question is doable by looking and observing, trying things out. You can find the answers. That will be 62 for your answer. Now again, tells you hence or otherwise show that X is the center of the circle. Now hence, you can use these values to find the answer, or you can see something very easy here. How do we know X is the center of the circle? So pretty easy, because this angle here is 56 and the angle here is 28. So what theory do we know that proves that? So we can say, since we know angle at center of the circle is equal to twice the angle at circumference. So this is a theory we have to know when dealing with properties of a circle. Now as you can see, angle at X was 56. 2 times angle at circumference, which is E, is 28, which is exactly equal to 2 times the angle. So 2 times 28 is 56. Because of that, we conclude X is the center of the circle. This is one way to prove this answer, and that is your question number 3. Okay, so let's move on to question number 4. So here we have to answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. Well, obviously, this one I will not be using a graph paper. The table shows the number of cars owned by 25 families. So here we have 25 families in total. That is my number of families. Okay. Now, part 1 of the question is to draw a bar chart to represent this information. So how can I make my life easier? So I can try to first do a tally marks for the number of cars owned by each family. So let's do that. So we can own 0 car, we can own 1 car, 2 car, 3 car, 4 car. So here we don't have 5, but let's write 5 because it will give you an order here, and until 6 cars. Because obviously this is numbers, you have to be in order 0 to 6. Because of that, we have to include 5 as well. Now, how many families own 0 car? We count. So 1 by 1. Here we have 2. That will be here. 0 is here. By tally marks, it will be easier. 3 is here. 4 is here. 1 is here. Okay. 0 is here. 1 is here. 1 is here. 2, 3, 2, 3, 6, 1, 0. And we have 1 again. Here we have 2, 0, and then we have 3, 2, 3, okay, and then 4 is here, and here we have 1, 2, and 1. So let's count. Let's check if this is correct or not. So this is 4, this is 7, this is 6, this is 5, this is 2, 0 and 1. So let's check. So 4 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1. That will be 25. So we confirm this is okay for my tally marks to find the number of families owning each of those cars. So basically the reading is we have 4 families owning 0 car, 7 families owning 1 car, 6 families owning 2 cars, so etc. So this is how you will read this kind of table for now. Now, draw a bar chart to represent this information. So the idea is pretty simple. You will have a vertical axis, and the number will be from 0 to 6, so 0. So let's put 0 here. We can put 0 here because that will have to be the starting value. Why not? 0, 1, 2, and then keep going on. Now, because this will be the frequency here, number of cars owned by the families, right? 4 will be somewhere over here, right? Bar chart. 1 will be, let's say over here, 7. Has to be the same thickness as well, so make sure everything is the same, just the height changes, okay? And then 2 will be 5 will be 6 will be somewhere over here, and then so on. So you get the idea. The thickness have to be the same. We have to label this 0, 1, 2 until 6. Here we have 6, and then here we have to label these values. That will be 4, for example. That will be 7. And that will be 6. So I have done only 3 of those, but you get the idea. This is pretty simple, how to draw a bar chart, right? Now for part B, we have to you have to label them, of course, as well. For the this is the number of cars, frequency for this values given to you. Now for part B, we have to find the median number of cars. Now what is the median? Median is the middle value. So how do we find this? As we know, we will take the total number of families plus 1 divided by 2. That will become 25 plus 1. That will be the 13th element. So we have to find where is the 13th element located. So we start from 0, obviously, that is 4, plus this, that will be 11. 11 plus 6, that will be 17. So we can see from 11 to 17, the 13th element has to be between somewhere over here, which means has to be the value of 2. So the median has to be 2. That makes sense. So the other idea is that, let me write this down. For example, I have 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 zeros. Then we had followed by 7 ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then followed by 6 twos. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So everything has to be in order to find the median values. Now we know the median value has to be the 13th element. We have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 is the value of 2. That is why this is my answer for the median. Now for part 2, we have to find the modal class. So the modal is the one which has the most frequency. If you observe, that will be this one. So 1 is the modal of cars. Now for part 3, we have to find the mean number of cars. So find the mean by definition. So we have to find the total number of cars divided by the number of families, which is 25. Sum of the cars, let's see how do we find that. You will have to do this times 0, so that will be 0 plus 7 times 1 is 7, 2 times 6 will be 12, 3 times 5 will be 15, that will be 8, that will be 0, and plus 6, that will be 48. So 48 will be the total number of cars divided by the number of families to give you the mean number of cars per family. That will be 1.92 cars per family for the mean number of cars for part 3 of question B. Now for part C, a family is chosen at random. So now we are choosing a family. We have 25 families, okay? Now find the chance that it owns 3 cars. Okay, so let's check. So 3 cars. We have 5 families that own 3 cars. So that will be, the answer will be 5 families own 3 cars over the total number of families. So that will be 1 over 5 will be your answer for the chance of this happening. Okay, you always divide by the total number, and then by the number of the families having the 3 cars is 5, divided by the total number to find the chance of this happening. Now for part D, we are choosing 2 families at random. Okay. Now we have to find the chance that one family owns 2 cars and the other owns 4 cars. So let's find the number of families that owns 2 cars first. Now going to my table, owning 2 cars is 6 families. So 6 families own 2 cars. And for 4 cars, it is 2 families. Okay, so one family owns 2 cars will be 6 over 25. Okay, and then owning 2 cars will be, 4 cars will be only 2, that will be 2 over remaining 24. Now, whenever you have one and the other, always remember to multiply by 2. So there's an explanation for this is because we can, basically there's 2 case scenarios. We can first take this guy, which is 6 over 25 times, and then this guy, or we could flip this guy first and then this guy, because of that we have 2 possibilities. But one way to remember this, whenever you have one and the other, multiply by 2 at the end just to help you out. That'll be 6 over 25 times 2 over 24 times 2. That'll be 1 over 25 as the answer. Now for part E, a car is chosen at random, so we are choosing a car right now. Find the chance that it belongs to a family which owns 2 cars. Okay, so pretty easy. Let's first find out how many cars are owned by this kind of family, which own 2 cars. If you go here, 2 cars, there's 6 families. So let's write this down. 6 families owns 2 cars. So these families owns in total of a number of 12 cars, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, right? 6 families owns each 2 cars, which means these families combined, they own 12 cars, right? Now, this is my goal to be in this family. So my goal will be 12 over the total number of cars available will be 48, as we have seen before. Divide by 48. That will be what? That will be 0.25 as the answer. So that will be my chance. Or you can write 1 over 4 as well for your answer for part E of the question. And that is your question number 4. So let's move on to question number 5. Let's see what do we have here. So the cost of parking in a car is 10 cents each hour. So 10 cents per hour. That's the cost of parking in this car park. Now, when he parked his car, John had only a large number of 10 cents. He has 10-cent coins and 20-cent coins to put into the machine. So he only have those 2 changes to use to pay for parking. That's the main idea. Now, here you go. The table shows how he can pay to park his car. For example, here, if he parks his car for 1 hour, which means he will have to pay 10 cents, he will pay directly with 1 coin of 10 cents. That will be one way of paying. Makes sense, right? Now, if he were to park his car for 2 hours, which means he had to pay 20 cents, he can either pay 10 and then 10, or he can pay 20, so 2 ways of paying, right? Now here again, if he parks his car for 3 hours, which means he has to pay 30 cents, he will have this way of paying. 10, 20 or 20, 10 will be 3 ways of paying in total. Now for part A, we have to show there's 5 ways to pay for 4 hours. So let's show this. So first thing we have to understand, for 4 hours we are planning to pay 40 cents, right? Now, one way to pay is pretty easy. That should be what? Let me write this down. That should be 10, 10, 10, and 10. That is one way to pay. Now, the other way to pay can be 10, 10, 20, right? Or it could be 10, 20, and 10. Or it could be 20, 10, and 10. And finally, it can also be 20, 20. So because of that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is shown as required for this one. We have 5 ways to pay for 40 cents. Now for part 2, we have to show we have 8 ways to pay for 5 hours. Now first thing we have to realize, for 5 hours we are paying 50 cents. Again, step by step, how would you pay for that? So let's do this sum over here. So first thing, we can pay 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10. Makes sense, right? So that's one way to pay. Then we can pay 10, 10, 10, 20. Or we can pay 10, 10, 20, 10. Or 10, 20, 10, and 10. Or we can pay 20, 10, 10, 10. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. So next one, we can pay 20, 20, 10, right? We can pay 20, 10, 20, or we can pay 10, 20, and 20. So 5 plus 3, that will be 8 ways shown as required. So that will be part 2 of the question. Now, where is all this leading us to do? Now for part B, we have the table below shows the number of ways John can pay when parking for various times. Now we have times here and the number of ways to pay. Now as you can see, there's a reason why they are asking you all these questions previously, because it is obviously connected with each other. So we have to think and recognize this one is a sequence question. Well, let's see what do we derive here. Now, using the table here or using the previous answers, find the values of A and B. Okay, A and B. Now, by observation, we can see what we can see. What's happening is that this value here is the sum of the previous two values, right? 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, this one is 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. 8 plus 13 is 21. So there you go. The values of A, 13 and 21 respectively. So check, that is right. So 5 plus 8 is 13. So that's the main idea behind this question. Now write down the equation connecting the values of x, y, and z. So basically, x plus y has to be the value of z, as we have seen right here. This is the question, part 3. So of course you have to show how did you find this. You will write this plus this, and this plus this, you will have this. So you have to show how did you find the answers for your marks, right? That will be question number 5. Now what's next? We have question number 6. So a road tanker holds 24 tons of oil. Tons of oil. That's how much it holds. So 24 tons. Now, in cold weather, that's the condition, it can pump out X tons of oil per minute. So 1 minute, it can pump out X tons. So all we can say, it can pump out X tons in 1 minute. So we can write this either way, it's the same meaning, right? Now for question, write down an expression in terms of X for the number of minutes it takes to empty the tank in cold weather. So pretty easy. So the number of minutes will be what? So we know that it will take X so X ton will be pumped out in 1 minute. Here we have 24 tons. It will take 1 over X multiplied by 24 minutes, if that makes sense. That will be 24 over X minutes. This is your answer for part 1. So let me rewrite this down again. It may be confusing for now. So the main concept here is that it will pump out X tons in 1 minute. So we want to find the time it will take out to pump out 24 tons. So let's first go to 1. how much time it will take to pump out 1 ton? So to find 1, we have to divide by x. That will be 1 over x minutes. Now continue, because we have 24 tons. So 24 tons, it will take 24 over x minutes. If that makes sense, because 1 is 1 over x, 24 has to be 24 over x minutes. That will be this part of the question. Now for part B, in hot weather, it can pump out, so let's call this time when it is cold, right? Cold condition. Now for this one, in hot weather, it can pump out this tons per minute. So same thing, write this down. It will be x plus 0.5 in 1 minute. Now again, write down an expression in terms of x for the number of minutes it takes to empty the tanker in hot weather. So let's do this. That will be so this is ton. So 1 ton will be 1 divided by x plus 0.5 minutes. So here we have to pump out 24 tons. Same logic, that will be 24 over x plus 0.5 minutes. So let's write this down. So here for this one, the time in hot weather has to be 24 divided by x plus 0.5 minutes. Now for part C of the question, it takes 2 minutes longer to empty the tanker in cold weather than in hot weather. So cold weather has to be more than hot weather. So exactly, the cold weather, if you were to minus the hot, has to give you 2 minutes longer. So that's the main equation you have to use to simplify to that equation. So let's do this. So TC minus, so from what we can see, we have seen that time in cold minus time in hot have to give you 2. Now time in hot is 24 over, so cold is over x minus time in hot, that will be this 2. Okay, so now how can you simplify this one by one? Let's first simplify this side. We will just first have to make this become the same base, so multiply them by each other. That will be x multiplied by x plus 5. So this is 0.5, and then cross multiply, you will have 24x plus 12 minus 24x has to be 2. Then we just have to cross multiply. This and this will be cancelled. And then continue, you will have what? You will have 12 here has to be 2. That will be x squared plus 0.5x. That will be 12 will be 2x squared plus x. Now finally, let's send everything to one side. You will have 2x squared plus x minus 12. And this is, let's check, this is exactly shown as required for question part C. Now for question part D, we have to solve this equation giving the answers correct to 3 decimal places. So whenever you see the answers is not exact, you have to use the formula to solve this question. That will be A, B, and C. X have to be minus B plus minus B squared minus 4 times A times C. Divided by 2 times A will be 4. Alright, simplify. X has to be what? Minus 1 plus minus. That will be 1 minus 4 minus 12. That will be 97 over the value of 4. So for the first value x, that will be what? Minus 1 plus root of 97 divided by 4. That should be 2.212. Or it can be minus 1 minus root of 97 divided by 4. That should be minus 2.712. So we have two answers correct to 3 decimal places for the values of x. Now finally, we have to do what? We have to find the time taken in minutes and second correct to the nearest second to empty the tanker in cold weather. Now, as we have seen in cold weather, from part 1, it will take the value of 24 over x. So obviously x, we can only take the positive value here. That will be 24 divided by 2.212. Let me see here. Okay, so x, because it is the tons of oil, it can only be positive. That's why, because it represents some the oil, right? It cannot be negative. 24 divided by 2.212. That will be 10.84990958. This is in terms of minutes. So we can break this down. That will be 10 minutes. And this will be 0.84990958 minutes. Now, how can you convert minutes to seconds? You have to multiply by 60, because we know that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. To convert minutes to seconds, we have to multiply by 60. So first take out 10, then multiply by 60. That will be 50.9945. Now, nearest second, obviously, you have to look at this one, the first decimal place. Is it more or equal to 5? Yes, so we have to send 1 here. That will become 51 seconds. So this is your answer for part E of question number 6. Okay, so now let's move on to part B, section B of this paper. So here usually we have to answer 4 questions in this section, but of course, I will try to do all of the question in this section. So what do we have here? A room has length of 3.6. This is 3.6. This is also 3.6. 3.6. This is 2.5. This is 2.2. That makes sense, right? The width is 2.5. This is also 2.5. And the height is 2.2. So this is given to you according to the question. It has one door, which is a rectangle of width 0.9 and height 1.9. So this is the width and the height. Okay. Now it has one window, which is a rectangle with width 1.2, and the height is 0.8. With a semicircle on one of its longer sides, according to the diagram right here. Something we can derive right away is that if this is 1.2, what is the radius of that semicircle? That will be half. That will be 0.6. Let's check. 1.2 divided by 2, that will be 0.6. Now for part 1, calculate the area of the window. So pretty easy. The window is in 2 parts. This is the semicircle area and the rectangle area. So one by one, how do you find the area of a circle? It is pi r square. Now because it is a semicircle, we have to divide by 2. Plus the area of the rectangle is 1.2 times 0.8. So 0.6 square pi divided by 2 plus 1.2 times 0.8. That will be 1.52548. Obviously, the 3SF, that will be 1.53 as my answer for the area of the window. That will be in terms of meters square. Now moving on to part B of the question, part 2, sorry. We have to show the area of the walls. Correct to 3SF is this. Now the walls, we have to understand what are those. The walls are the sides of the room. It is not the ceiling, not the floor. The walls is these sides. Now we have 4 walls, as you can see. Let's call this number 1. Call this number 2. The back one, let's call this number 3. And the side one, let's call this number 4. So this is how you will find the area of all the 4 walls one by one. So for number 1 here, pretty easy. That will be the whole area, which is 3.6 times 2.2. That's the whole thing. Minus the area of the window, which is 1.52548. That is the first area. Let's solve. So 3.6 times 2.2 minus 1.52548. That'll be 6.39452. Now number 2 is this one. That will be the whole thing again, which is 2.5 times 2.2 multiply, so sorry, this is minus the area of this door, that will be 1.9 minus 0.9. So 2.5 times 2.2 minus 1.9 times 0.9. That will be 3.79. Now for number 3, for the back one, it is just the back wall, which is the same as this without the window. That will be 3.6 times 2.2. That will be 7.92. And finally, for number 4 is the side wall without the door. That will be 2.5 times 2.2. That will be 5.5. Okay, so now to find the total area, we just have to add everything together. That will be 6.39452 plus 3.79 plus 7.92 plus 5.5. That will be 23.6. So correct to 3SF, that will be 23.6, shown as required. Now for part B, tiles are to be fixed to the wall inside the room. Okay, so we understand that the area inside the room is the same as the area outside the room as well, at least for the walls, right? Now, Aileen estimated the number of tiles needed to cover the walls inside the room is in the following way. She first increased the area by 12%. So what is the new area? So we understand that the initial area is considered to be 100%. When you increase this by 12%, the new area has to be 112%, if that makes sense. So basically, that will be 23.6 divided by 100% times 112%, that will be 26.432, will be the area that she used to estimate the number of tiles that we will use. Okay, now each tile has a square, is a square of side 25. So each tile is a square of side 25 centimeters. So again, we don't want to convert at the end. We can first convert this to meters. So because here we have meters, here we have centimeters, so that will be 0.25. Because we understand that 1 meter is 100, so that will be divided by 100, that will be 0.25. So what is the area of this one? That will be 0.25 square, that will be 0.0625. Okay, that will be the area of one of the tiles. Part 1, find the number of tiles she needed. That will be the whole area, 26, divided by one of the tiles. Let's see how much does she need. 26.432 divided by answer, that will be 422,912. So obviously we will take 422, but of course we cannot take this value for a tile. We will have to take the whole value, that will be 423 tiles that she will need. Right? We will have to round it up to the next tile. Now for part 2 of the question, what do we have here? The tiles are sold in boxes, each containing the 20 tiles. Okay, so we have to buy the tiles now. Now in each box there's 20 tiles. Now each box costs $15. Find the cost of the boxes of tiles that she bought. So first we have to find the number of boxes that she bought. So we have this many tiles. Since in one box there's 20 tiles, let's see how many boxes do we need. So 423 divided by 20, that is 21.15. So we will take 21 box. However, we will also take another box because we cannot buy 0.15 box. So we will take 22 box in total. Now since one box is 15, 22 times 15 has to be 330. So the cost will be $330 in total that she will pay. Now for part 3 of the question, the shopkeeper sold the tires at $15 per box. He made a profit of $20. Find the profit he made on each box. So pretty easy. So we understand that the cost is 100%. That is the initial value for the cost. Now when you sell something, you make a profit of 20%. That will be 120% represent the selling price at $15. So let's first find the cost. The cost will be 15 divided by its corresponding percentage times the desired percentage. That will be 15 divided by 120 times 100. That will be 12.5. So basically the cost at which he bought was 12.5. So we conclude the profit will be the selling price minus the cost. That has to be $2.5. Here you go. This will be $2.5 will be the profit that he made on each box. That will be question number 7. Okay, so let's move on to question number 8. So here, as you can see, will be a question regarding bearings. So we have 3 points A, B, C lie on a horizontal field. It means they are flat on the ground. Okay, that is something we have to understand. Now the angle BAC is 75. The bearing of C from A is 217. So let's see. Let's see where is that angle. So here we have C. Let's say this is my north line. And here we have A, and that will be my north line over here as well. So the bearing of C from A, so from A, go to this A, all the way to C has to be 217. That is the bearing of C from A. Now for part B, we have the values of AB and AC given to you on the diagram. Now part A, we have to calculate the bearing of B from A. So let's find out. So let's first find out what are we trying to find. So going to your point B, let's draw the north line. Now what is the bearing of B from A? So B from A will be A going all the way to here. So basically this whole angle, that will be pretty easy. Simply 217 plus 75 will be the bearing of B from A. So from A will be bam all the way to B. That will be 217 plus 75. That will be 292 degrees. Now for point B, we have to find BC. So where's BC? BC is this one. Now again, as we have seen before, whenever you have a triangle, when you know the angle in between and the two sides, we can use the cosine rule. So let's write this here. Cosine of the angle have to be the sum of the squares of the two sides minus the opposite side square, BC square, over 2 times the two sides. Now this is just the formula for the cosine rule you have to know. Okay, so let's solve. 2 times 60 times 75, that will be 8640. Cos of 75, that will be what? 60 square plus 72 square, that will be 8784 minus BC square. From this, BC square has to be what? This minus 8640 cos of 75, that will be 6547.8. So BC has to be 80.918. So correct to 3SF, that will be 80.9 for the value of BC. It is in terms of meters. Okay, now moving on to the next ones. What do we have over here? We have to find the angle ABC. ABC, so find this one. Okay, now because we know all the three sides of the triangle, to find the angle we can use the sine rule. So we know this is the and this is the angle on this side. So we can use those values to use the formula for sine rule, hence finding this angle. For example, I can write 60 over sine of the opposite angle, let's call this B, we don't know, should be equal to, or is equal to, here we have 80.9 of sine of the opposite angle, that should be 75. So let's find this one. So let's continue somewhere over here. That will be sine of B is going to be what value? So we have to cross multiply. That will become 60 sine of 75 divided by 80.9. That should be 0.716. Now B, that will be sine inverse of that. That will be 45.8 degrees. That will be the angle of B here, 45.8. Now again, just to explain, so to make this become subject, we send this up and we send this down and we send this on this side. That will become 60 sine of this. Send this down, that will become 80.9, and that will become sine of B. Now we have to find B, so send this over here, become sine inverse of the answer, right? So let's double check to see if that is okay or not. So 60 sine of 75 divided by 80.9. Inverse, that will give you this value, which is correct. To one decimal place. So whenever your angle is not exact, you have to provide the angle value to one decimal place, which is 45.8. Now for the last one, find the bearing of C from B. So let's see first, what are we trying to find? So the bearing of C from B will be this angle right here. C from B will be that angle. Now we have to look out on the shape and on the things that we have to find that angle. So it's pretty easy. If you were to just turn this around here, what do we have again? As we have seen before, if you have two lines which are in the same direction, right? For example, this line and this line, they're in the same direction. Now B, they join with A, for example. This is A and B, for example, right now. Now we understand that this angle have to be the same as this angle, right? Because they are alternate angles. That makes sense, right? Now what is this angle here? If this is 217, this will be what? Derived, that will be 217 minus 180, because this is a straight line, this is 180, this will be extra, that will be 37. Now what is this whole thing? That will be plus 75, that will be 112. So this whole thing is 112, which means this thing here is also 112. Okay, now we can see if this is 112, this is 45.8, so we can find the angle pretty easily. 112 plus 45.8, that is 157.8 degrees. So you always provide degrees to 1SF in terms of bearings as well, or one decimal place, not 1SF, one decimal place for the values of degrees of bearing of C from B. Okay, so let's move on to part B of the question. Now we have a girl standing at B flying a kite. So let's say we have a point B right here. She is flying the kite. Now the kite is vertically above A. Let's call this a point B. Now because the point A, B, and C are on the ground, we assume they will be flat, right? This will be my point A. Now we understand that K has to be vertically above A. This is K right here. Okay, now I can join this because it is flying a kite, so the kite has to be connected with the point B. Now the string BK right here attached to the kite is at 24 degrees to the horizontal. Okay, now what can we write? Because we know this is the ground and this is vertically above, this has to be 90, right? And the value of AB has to be 7.2. Okay, that's something we know. It is given to us according to the question. Now what else do we need to do? Now we have to find the angle of elevation of the kite when viewed from C. Now again, A, B, C are points on the same level on the ground. Let's say the point C is somewhere over here. Now we want to find the angle of elevation when viewed from C. Let's say C will be here. So this angle will be the angle of elevation. This is also 90. So how would you find the value of alpha, for example? So we can observe, we can use this triangle to first find this height and then find this value here, because we know AC is also given to you as 60 by the question. So let's first find the height. The height is equal to what? So by right angle triangle, we can use SOHCAHTOA. You will realize that will be tan of 24 have to be height over 7/2. So height has to be 7/2 of tan 24. That will be 32.056, right? If that makes sense. That's the first step. Now you know the height, you know the A side, we have to use tan. So tan of the angle has to be the height divided by the A side. So alpha have to be eventually 32 so answer obviously divided by 60. Tan inverse of that will be 28.1 as your answer for the angle of elevation. So angle of elevation from C has to be that will be 28.1 degrees. And that will be your question number 8. Okay, so let's move on to question number 9. So we have been given a few formulas here: the surface area of sphere, the volume of a sphere, the curved surface area of a cone, and also the volume of a cone. Okay, now a solid cone has a base radius of 5 and the height of 12 given to you according to the diagram. Now a solid hemisphere has a radius of 5. Okay, this is the hemisphere, radius 5. Now a metal toy is formed by joining the plane surfaces of the cone and the hemisphere. Now we have a hemisphere, so let's go correct the formulas we have. Sphere is this, hemisphere will be half a sphere, right? So the formula will be 2 pi r square. Same thing, hemisphere will be half a sphere, that will be 2 over 3 pi r cubed for the volume of hemisphere. So let's move on to part A of the question. So we have to find the length of the slant height is 13. So this is the slant height. Pretty easy. We have a right angle triangle. Here we can use the Pythagoras theorem, which says L square has to be 12 square plus 5 square. L square has to be 169. So L has to be root of 169, and that has to be 13 centimeters, shown as required. Now for part B, we have to calculate the surface area of the toy. So of course we have to look at the shape. There's two sides. Number 1 is surface area of the cone. Number 2, surface area of the hemisphere. The cone surface area will be this one, pi r L. Pi r is 5, L is 13. Surface area of the cone of the hemisphere will be 2 pi r square, so 2 pi r square. Add those two, let's see what do we get. That'll be 5 times 13, that will be 65, plus 2 times 5 square, that will be 115. So let's check one more time. 5 times 13 plus 2 times 5 square, that will be 115 pi, or obviously that will be 361. That will be in terms of centimeters square for the total area, surface area of the toy. So that is correct to 3SF. Now for part 2, we have to find the volume of the toy. So again, volume will be this one, Call this A and this B. What is the volume of A? Will be volume of a cone. That'll be 1/3 pi. So 1/3. So base area, obviously. Base area here is what? So cone is what shape? We have to understand. Cone, the shape is, the base area is a circle. Pi r square h. That will be 1/3. Pi r square is 5 square. H is 12, the height. That will be 1/3 times 5 square times 12. That will be 100 pi. Now for part B, let's see what do we have. The volume of a hemisphere, that will be 2/3 pi r cube. So 2/3 pi r cube 5 cube. That will be what? So 2/3 times 125. That will be 83.13 pi. So the volume, that will be, adding those two together, that will be 183 1 over, so let's say 100 pi plus, so that will be 83 over 1 over 3 pi. That will be 575.958. That should be 576. That will be in terms of centimeters cube. Let's try one more time. So AD 1/3 times pi plus 100 pi. That will be exactly the same answer. That should be 576 centimeters cube. This is centimeters square for the area, obviously. Now for part C, a solid metal cylinder has a radius of 1.5. Okay, now first thing we have to understand what is the shape of the cylinder. That is this, right? This is the shape of a cylinder. Has a radius of 1.5 meters and the height is 2 meters. Right. Now, the cylinder was melted down and all of the metal was used to make a large number of these toys. Find the number of toys that were made. So pretty easy. When you melt this down, what stays the same? The volume. So what is the volume of a cylinder? That will be pi r square h. Pi r square is, now this is in terms of meters, because everything else was in terms of centimeters. We can just change that to centimeters. That will be 150, because we have to multiply by 100. H, that will be 200. So let's see what do we have here. 150 square plus 200, so times 200, that will be 4,500,000. That will be the volume of cylinder. Now when you melt this, you will have this much metal to use. So your answer will be, the number of toys will be the volume divided by the volume of the toys is 183 1/3 this. So cancel, you will have what? Answer divided by 183 1/3, that should be 24,545.45. So obviously you will take only the whole number because you cannot make half a toy. You can only make 24,545 toys from that volume available of metal. And that is your question number 9. Okay, so let's move on to question number 10. So answer the whole question in a sheet of graph paper. So here I guess we have to draw this on a graph paper. So we have the area of the rectangle is given by this. So this is pretty important. The area of this thing is this value. Okay, now inside the garden here we have a lawn, EFGH, okay, whose sides are parallel to that of the garden, which means it is also a rectangle. Now EF is 4 meters from AB, this one, and this is also seen on the diagram. So part 1, by taking the length of AB to be x, write down expressions for EF. First, what is EF? EF is this one. If this is x, this is 1, this is 1, EF have to be x minus 2, if that makes sense, right? Now what is BC? BC is this one. If this is x, the area is this. So if area is Length times width is area. Length is x. What is width? Width has to be 100 divided by x. So BC has to be 100 over x. Now what is FG? FG is this one. Because we know the whole thing here, we can just minus 4 minus 1. So that will be 100 over x minus 5 will be FG. That is part A of the question. Now for part B, hence we have to show the area. We call area y of the lawn this. So pretty easy. How do you find area of a rectangle? It is length times width. So the length is EF is x minus 2. We have called the area y, right? And the length is FG, which is this value. So 1 by 1, this times this will become 100 minus 5x minus 200 over x plus 10. That is y. So y has to be what? That will become 110 minus 5x minus 200 over x. This is shown as required. Okay, so that is part B of the question. Now part C of the question, let's see what do we have. The table below shows some values of x and the corresponding values of y correct to one decimal place. Okay, part 1, find the values of p. So pretty easy. We place this value of x in the equation. That will be 110 minus 5 times 4 minus 200 over 4. That will be 40. 40.0 will be the value of p. That is easy marks for part 1. Now for part D, we have to use the graph to draw these points and join them by a smooth curve. So let's do that right now. So I was able to first draw the axis. Now I have to plot the points and join them by a smooth curve. So let's do one by one. The first point is 440. That will be right here. I have the point 545 should be this one. I have the point 646.7. 46. That is 1, 2, 3. 46.7 will be here, right? And then we have 746.4. 46.4 should be here. Then I have 8, that will be 45. 45. This one, same level as this. 9 will be 42.8. 42.8. 42. Should be somewhere over here, I believe. Yeah, if I can see correctly right now. And 10 will be 40. 10 is 40, should be this one. Let's try to join the points by a smooth curve. Now, try your best, obviously. You have to use a pencil. Because if you do make a mistake, you can always erase and then redraw the curve. I will try my best to connect them by a smooth curve. Okay, somewhat like this. This will join with this, and eventually this will connect with this. Okay, this is my graph joined by a smooth curve. I tried my best, so I don't think it's the best curve ever, but it is what it is. That is y equal to 110 minus 5x minus 200 over x. Always label your graph after you draw them. Now for part part 1, part E. By drawing a tangent, at this point, find the gradient of the curve. So pretty easy. At this point is where? It is the point right here. Tangent is a line touching the point. So as you can see, it will be touching the point. The tangent is the line. So touch the curve at only one point. So that will be my tangent at that point. Now to find the gradient, I will have to find 2 points on this is my first point, it is 9.5. And the value here is 42.2. And let me take the value here. That will be 6.5, and the value is 47.8. So let's use those 2 points to find the gradient of that curve at that point. So the 2 point I was able to find was 6.5, 47.8. So this is basically 2 points on the line. One will be before the point and one is after the point x equal to 8. So that's how you would find the gradient of the curve, by first finding 2 points and then just using your formula for y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 47.8 minus 42.2 divided by 6.5 minus 9.5. That will be minus 1.87 for my gradient of the graph. Okay, this is according to my graph. Your graph may be a bit different and your value will be around almost the same value. It may not be exact same, but that is okay. You have to show how you find the answer, which is the most important part in those kind of questions. Now for part F, we have to use the graph to find the range of values of x for which the area is at least, now area, it was defined by y, so for which y is at least 44, so 44 and up. So to find this value, we must first draw the line y equal to 44. That will be somewhere over here. By drawing this line, let's label this y equal to 44. We see we have 2 points of intersection. So let's find those corresponding value. This, and that will be somewhere over here. Right. So let's read those values. So this value is 4.5, 4.7. Right. This one is 8.45. So as you can see, according to my graph, when my value of x is between those two values or equal to those two values as well, my area will be at least, so from this point has to go up and down until here it is more than 44. It is above the line of 44. As you can see, this is my area, which is the purple color. For those values of x, it is above that line. So this is why we have to write, for the range of values, it is x, it is between the value of 4.7 and 8.45. Now, of course, because it is at least, you have to also add this as well for your answer. That is part 1. Now, part 2, we have to find the value of x for which the area is the greatest. So we have to use the graph. Let's observe, where is the area the greatest? So you can see the purple line. It goes up and up and up. It will be having a max value somewhere over here. Right. So let's draw a line. Now we have to find the corresponding value of x at which this occurs. That will be, according to the graph, it is 6.2 will be the value. X equal to 6.20 is when I can, according to my graph, this is where the area is maximum at this point. This is your question number 10. Now let's move on to question number 11. So here we have a regular hexagon. So we have to understand, regular means these sides are all the same. Okay? That's the first thing we understand. Now, hexagon has 6 sides. Now, first thing I would like to ask you is, what is the size of the interior angle of a hexagon? So that will be 6 minus 2 times 180 divided by the number of sides. That should be what? 4 times 180 divided by 6. That will be 120, will be the size of one of the angles. Either way, let's see what do we have here. So OA is A, OB is B. So these two are vectors given to you. Now for part B, we have to express as simply as possible in terms of A or B, part 1, DO. So where's DO? DO, D, moving to O. As you can see, it's the same direction, same size as this, will have to be A as well. So that will be A. Now where's AB? A going to B, we can first take A, go to O, O go to B. Now A going to B will be in the opposing direction of A has to be minus A plus B, which will be B minus A. Now finally for DB as well, DB has to be DC and CB. So DB has to be DC is what? DC is the same direction as this, that will be B, and CB has to be plus A. So B plus A will be DB. Okay, so that will be question part A. Now for part B, explain why the sides of A, B, and B minus A are the same. So why is that true? Now if you observe, we have to go back to use the fact that it is a regular hexagon. Now if you were to, let's cut this down. Let's say if I were to do this, for example, if I were to join all these together, right? For example, if I have this and this, because all these sides are the same, I can conclude that the angle here are also the same. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 360 divided by 6, that will be 60 degrees. So one of the angle here is 60 degrees. That's what we can conclude from that question at least. Now what else? What else can we do to prove that it is also of the same angle on the other sides? So let's observe. If this is 60, let's first write this down if you want to. 60, 60, 60. Of course there's no need, but I'm just writing this down to have a look to see what we can do to find the other values. Now what else do we know? We know that the interior angle is 120, which is this whole thing right here is 120, right? Which means also everyone here is 120 as well. But again, we understand that if you were to, we have a line of symmetry here exactly, because it is a regular hexagon, which means that if this is 120, this has to be 60. Now if this is 60, 60, this means this has to also be 60. So the conclusion is, because all the angles are 60, we conclude that because the triangle AOB is an equilateral triangle. That is exactly why all the sides of the triangle have to be the same. That's the reason why. Part A, it is only one mark, you can see, pretty easy. Now for part C, the point X, Y, Z are given to you by those, right? This is the points X, Y, and Z. Now for part A1, express as simply as possible AX. So AX, A going to X, pretty easy, that will be this value here, which is the same direction as this, that will be B. AX is B. Now what is the value of YX? YX, so again pretty easy. This is B, B, and B. That will be 3B. YX is 3B. Of course, we have to read this first so we can derive something. Let's see. OX is A plus B. So OX, O going to X will be A plus B. Okay, this is B. Fair enough. Now OY is A minus 2B. O going to Y, A minus 2B will be in the opposite direction of B, right here. Okay, now we have OZ is B minus 2A, so B minus 2A, so which means this is also the value of A. Okay, so finally part 2, what can you deduce by YAX? So I can deduce that YAX lie on the same line. As you can see, YAX, because this is B, this is B and B, so this is why they lie on the same line, because they are in the same direction. Now let's see what else. So part D, express as simply as possible the vector xz. So x is there. Going to z, pretty easy. That will be what? That will be, so here in this direction it is a, going back will be minus a. So minus a, minus a, minus a. That will be minus 3a. Okay. Now for part E, we have to show the triangle XYZ is equilateral. So pretty easy. We will just use the same concepts from part, I think it was part B right here. If you work to connect those, let's do something. Okay, so let's first, we have the triangle XYZ. So the side YX is given to you by 3b. The side ZX is given to you by 3a. And the side Y, I think this side, right? This side is what? Let's see. This side should be pretty easy. That is Y, YZ has to be what? Y going to Z has to be Y going to this has to be 3b minus 3a. Now if you observe, we can just use the concept from B. From B we have used, we have shown this is true. We have shown that if you do 3, this has to be 3, this has to be 3, this. Right? If you observe, we can take out the 3. 3 will be outside. That will be outside, outside. And according to this one, you can see we have shown that this is the same. So this, and this are the same. So finally, we understand that conclude yx is the same as zx and yz. So all the three sides are the same. Conclude they are a equilateral triangle. That's how you would prove that, by using your answer from part B and replacing, and you will see this is exactly the same three sides for the triangle. Now for F, we have to find the ratio of the area of triangle AOB and XYZ. Now, this one is not tricky. We just have to understand something. Because the triangle OAB is equilateral, and because the triangle XYZ is also equilateral, which means the angles are 60 degrees. So by AAA, we conclude that those two triangles are similar. So basically, we have to use similarity to solve this question. So look at their sides. Triangle OAB is this one, OAB. So this side here is what? It is A. Let's take one side on the corresponding side will be, this one will be. So this is the, so if you draw the triangle OAB, this is A. This is OAB. Then the corresponding side on the bigger triangle, this will be this side on the bigger triangle. This is the side 3A. So, as we have seen many times before, if you want to compare sides, so let me write this down. This is OAB. This is XYZ. Comparing sides, it is pretty direct. Comparing A to 3A, which is basically, to cancel A out, that will be 1, 2, 3. But now if you want to compare area, we have to square both sides. That will be 1 to 9. So OAB is 1, XYZ is 9. So let's write this down. That will be 1 to 9. Now I guess in the end, if you cannot find the answer, what can you do as well? You can just go to this triangle. Just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 of the triangle over 9. That will be the ratio as well. Okay, so that will be the last question of this paper. I know this was a long paper. I hope it was somewhat useful. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you soon.